أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I welcome all the viewers of the Peace TV network, the Peace TV English, the Peace TV Urdu, the Peace TV Bangla and the Peace TV Chinese, as well as my 4 social media platforms, which are the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram and Twitter. I welcome all the viewers with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. The first question that has come on the WhatsApp, which has been selected by my group. The first question is from Brother Yusuf Shuhaib, Ghana. What are the basic guidelines in Islam for choosing a spouse? A similar question is asked by Najiba, Afghanistan. I am a 16-year-old girl. How can we love someone in an Islamic way before marriage? And a similar question asked by Abdullah Mohsin from Dubai, UAE. If it is not too personal, can we know how did you select a life partner? The first question posed by the brother, that what are the guidelines regarding choosing a life partner or a spouse in Islam? Our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, hadith number 5090, as well as in Sahih Muslim, volume number 4, hadith number 3635. It is a muttafiq alaik. It's a hadith present in Bukhari as well as in Sahih Muslim. It's mentioned, Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that women are chosen in marriage for 4 things: the wealth, the lineage or nobility, beauty and religion. Choose her for the religion. Here in this hadith, our beloved Prophet says that women in marriage are chosen for 4 things: wealth, lineage, nobility. Third is beauty, and 4th is religion. And the best is religion. That means choose the woman who is religious. Here we come to know that the maximum importance that should be given is to the religion. Because all the earlier 3 criteria which people normally look for in marriage, it is limited and mainly for this dunya. For example, wealth. Wealth is something which can maybe get you some luxury in this world, but may not be beneficial in the Akhirah. As the beloved Prophet said, it is more difficult for a rich man to go to Jannah than a poor man. But it's not haram to have wealth, but it is not the major criteria you should look for. The second is lineage. Looking at the lineage, at the family, it's good, but that is not the main. It is mainly for this dunya. You may say, oh, coming from a very good family, from a noble family. The third criteria is beauty, which is again limited only to this world. Beauty is something which you may get tired of in few days or few weeks or a year. The best and everlasting, mainly for the Akhirah as well as for the dunya, is religion. It is the deen. And if I was to pay any weightage in choosing, this is my own opinion, that if a boy wants to choose a girl, 90 to 95% should be for the deen, for the religion. Because that will get him Akhirah as well as the dunya. Yes, as far as the wealth is concerned, if a boy wants to marry a girl, then what use is the wealth of the girl to that boy? A good boy who has his own self-respect, but naturally would not like to live on the money of the woman, of the wife. So irrespective whether the girl is rich or poor, what difference will it make him? And even if he's going to use, that is only for this dunya. The lineage may or may not help. That will not really count much. The beauty, as I said, is subjective. As long as the wife is not repulsive, so maybe you can give about 3 or 4 points or 3 or 4% weightage to the beauty as long as she's not repulsive. The deen is the maximum. 90 to 95% of the weightage should be given to the deen if it's a boy choosing a girl. If a girl is choosing a boy, then wealth may carry certain weight, because if the girl is used to having certain comfort in life, but natural, she cannot marry a boy who's living on the street. So if it's a girl marrying a boy, then the wealth may have certain weightage, maybe about 10% marks. The lineage, maybe 1%, and the handsomeness of the boy, as long as he's not repulsive, but natural, because you want to live with the spouse for the full life, you should be satisfied. But mentally, if you make up a mind, if you really, it's all in your mind. Any girl can seem to be beautiful, it's in your mind. So the handsomeness or the beauty carries a smaller percentage. So for the man, the religion, I would say, would carry 90 to 95% marks. And for the woman, when she's looking for a spouse, maybe would carry approximately 85% marks, the religion, the deen, which is the most important. Anyway, this percentage is from my side, it is not from the hadith. The hadith is very clear that the most important is the religion, that's it. This is my percentage. Regarding the second question posed by the sister, that can we have an Islamic love before marriage? Regarding the love before marriage that we have nowadays in the modern society, in the Western society, but natural, it is haram. There is no LBW. LBW in the cricket, you have leg before wicket. LBW is love before wedding. So the way we have in the Western culture, where there are girlfriend, boyfriends, and they want to test each other, they go out to a park, and they go out for a movie, they sit in the last bench of the theater, or they want to enjoy, they go for dinner, and they talk, and they may go to a hotel and sleep overnight. All these things is haram in Islam. Yes, you can, while selecting a life partner, have interview along with the mahram. If a boy is going to look at a girl, then maybe the boy's sister is there, or the girl's father is there, along with the mahram. But natural, you can ask questions, you can interview for a few minutes, for half an hour, for 1 hour. There is no limit. You can have 1 meeting, 2 meetings, no problem to understand, because you want to spend the full life with the girl and the girl with the boy. But going out alone and being in seclusion, the shaitan is there. The Prophet said that if there are 2 mahram alone, the third person is the devil. So in the Islamic way, yes, you can interview, but the love before marriage, what we have in the normal sense in the Western world, it is prohibited. Islamic way, yes, you can have. For example, you may know, the girl may know of a boy who's Islamic, who's very religious, who has high taqwa, who prays 5 times salah in the mosque, and is a da'i, and the girl may want to have a good life partner. So Islamically, what she does is that she proposes to the boy who she thinks is religious through her father or through a brother, or the parents of the girl go and meet the parents of the boy, and in the Islamic way it's possible. So this sort of love, because you like the religious values and the deen in the boy, it is permissible. Islamically, if you go ahead following the rules and regulation, not breaking the Sharia, it is possible in this way, if you want to call it love before marriage, because you like the religious aspects in the boy, or the boy likes the religious aspects in the girl. In this way, not breaking any rules of the Islamic Sharia, then you can call it a sort of love before marriage Islamically, but seeing to it that you don't break any of the rules of the Sharia. As far as the third question posed to me is that if it's not too personal, the brother would like to know that how did I select my life partner? And as many of you may be aware that I met Sheikh Ahmed Deedat in 1987 the first time when I was 22 years old, and I was impressed by him, and that's how I got involved in the field of dawah, and my life became more Islamic. Previously I was an average Muslim, praying 5 times a day, fasting and doing what normal Muslims should do, but the dawah came into my life after I met Sheikh Ahmed Deedat. And once I started doing dawah, and by Allah's grace, alhamdulillah, I realized that I was good in debating, I was good in convincing. So I thought, as far as choosing a life partner for me, inshallah, no problem. Any girl I marry, I will be able to convince her maybe in a few weeks or a few months, or no problem, the girl I'll be able to convince. This was in the initial stages when I was a novice, when I didn't have much knowledge. But naturally, later on, as the years passed, I realized that very important, reading the hadith of the Prophet and knowing the other aspects of Islam, that choosing a life partner is very important. And at that time I thought that the right age for a Muslim boy to get married is 25. That was my idea at that time. Now it may be a little bit earlier. So at that time I thought that 25 years is the best time for a person to get married, when he finishes his graduation and he can marry. And at the age of 25, when I started to look for a girl and realizing, having more knowledge of the deen, reading the hadith and the Quranic verses, my criteria was based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is in Bukhari and Muslim, that while choosing a girl, you look for 4 things. First is the wealth, second is the lineage, the nobility, third is the beauty, fourth is the deen, and the best is the deen. You should choose a girl for deen. And this hadith was ingrained in my mind, and I decided I want to marry a girl who is as religious as possible. More religious than me. That was my aim, to get a girl who is in the field of dawah and religious. So I told my sister that look out for a girl, and my only criteria, number 1 is deen. Regarding wealth, the poorer she is, better for me, because I don't want to use any of her wealth. Lineage, it doesn't matter. And beauty, she should not be repulsive. That was my requirement. And with this requirement, I told my sister that she should find for me a life partner. And believe me, for 2 years she hunted, and she may have searched many girls, and unfortunately not a single one did she pass. Not a single of the girl who she thought and who she interviewed ever passed even the prelims. Later on, we got information that there is a Muslim girl in a neighboring city, Pune, which is 160 kilometers from Bombay, where I lived. And we came to know that she was the head, the president of a ladies' Islamic Dawah organization. And I went along with my sister and my mother, and I went to Pune. I traveled all the way. I drove for a few hours, and I went to Pune, and that's how the first time I met my wife. And that time she wasn't aware, and we met her, and we spoke to her mother. My mother was there, and my sister was there, her mother was there, she was there. And later on, when we went back, then we sent the proposal, and then we had a formal meeting. So first wasn't a formal meeting, just we went and we met through one of our common friends. And when we had the formal meeting, we had for a few hours. And alhamdulillah, she was the first girl I met, or I interviewed, or I interacted to be my would-be wife. And alhamdulillah, the first was the best, and Allah blessed me, mashallah, with a wonderful wife. And alhamdulillah, I consider it to be one of the best gifts that Allah has given me. Besides the iman that Allah has given me, the best gift that Allah gave me is my wife. And she was from Pune. And in the first interview itself, it was nearly finalized. Then we had another meeting. My basic criteria was that she should be religious, and she should be a dai. These were the 2 criteria, religious and dai. And I could not find a girl better than her at that time. Already more than 27 years has passed for our marriage. At that time, I could not find anyone better in my knowledge. And alhamdulillah, this was the only criteria. The remaining was not at all important. But alhamdulillah, even though I wasn't looking for beauty, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a beautiful wife. And as I said, the beauty is in your mind. And alhamdulillah. And many people used to ask me that now you're giving so many hours for dawah, maybe, about 9-10 hours for dawah. Once you get married, you'll have to give time to your wife. How will you be able to manage both? So one of the reasons that I married a girl who is a daya, so that it's a Venn diagram. Most of our time would overlap. So when I gave approximately 5 hours to her in a day, maybe 3 hours was discussing dawah. And then we started an Islamic organization, Ladies Wing, in my organization, Islam Research Foundation. The moment we got married, first thing we did was started a ladies wing, and she was the president of the ladies wing of Islam Research Foundation. So my main criteria was only deen and dawah, but naturally in the interview the question asked was based on about what is the concept of purpose of life and other things. So basically these two are the criteria. Allah blessed me, and the best blessing for a da'i is to have a righteous and supporting life partner. For a da'i, the wife can make the life of a da'i hell. I know many da'is who are very good da'is, but after marriage, their dawah has been ruined because of the spouse. Allah has blessed me, mashallah, and I consider my wife to be the best wife in the world. That's what I consider, alhamdulillah. And I thank Allah for giving me a spouse who was righteous. And because of her, after marriage, my dawah increased multiple times and kept on increasing more and more to the level. Now, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me. And therefore, choosing a life partner is very important. And as the Prophet said, look for a life partner who's religious. Look for deen in her. The other criteria are not at all important. Most important is religious and virtuous. Hope this answers the question. We have on the Facebook, Wani Max, Kasadul Islam, Azman Toha, Star Boy, Khalil Gutaf, Bijoy Ahmad, Radwan Harun, Imran Hussein, Mudassir Junju, Adil Khan, Islam Tiko, Shafayat Mamun, Talatul Sani, Abdul Rafe, Anisur Rahman, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. Many are saying I love you too. They are doing du'as for me, I do du'as for you too. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of you Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. On the YouTube, Nadra Mehaz, Tahir Hussain, Great Man, Young Blood, Muhammad Uzair Seth, Fahad Ehsan, Tasneem Saqif, Titan Greyback, Muhammadi Begum, Suraj Keshap, Haji Bakur Singh, Kamil Ali, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. The third question is from Saiful Hussain Anoy. I am Rubel from Bangladesh. My question is, I have a savings account which provides me interest and I want to give it to the poor people. Is it possible? A similar question is posed by Farnaz Fatima. Can we give interest money in charity? A similar question from Hassa Abu Bakr. Sir, I have a bank account which has interest. Could I remove the interest amount without taking it from the account but giving from other source? What can I do with this interest? From the question posed by these three questioners, it is clear that they realize that interest in riba is haram. And Allah mentions the word riba in the Quran no less than 8 times. And Allah clearly mentions in Surah Baqarah chapter number 2, verse number 278 and 279, that if you give up not your demands for riba, for interest, then take notice of a war from Allah and His Rasul. Riba is a major sin in Islam. And according to Imam Adhabi, he places riba, interest, as 12th major sin in Islam. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, it's mentioned in Mustadrak al-Hakim, hadith number 2259. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, there are 73 levels or 73 types of riba. And the lowest level is equivalent to doing zina with your mother. It's a Sahih hadith. The lowest level of riba is like doing zina with your mother. That's what our beloved Prophet said. And Allah says that if you give up not your demands of riba, of interest, take notice of a war from Allah and His Rasul. There is hardly any sin you can find in the Quran or the Hadith in which Allah says, Allah will wage a war against you if you indulge in that sin. Imagine. It is such a grievous, heinous sin, riba. Regarding the question posed by all three questioners, that what to do with the interest money. Can we give in charity? Can I take out from the bank and give in charity? Can I keep the money in the bank and give from outside equivalent amount in charity? As far as taking interest money and giving in charity, if you have to take the interest money and give in charity, before giving you have to take. So taking riba is haram. So even if you take riba and give in charity, even that is haram. The moment you take interest, you are waging a war against Allah and the Rasul. So there is no question of taking. Even taking the riba and giving in charity is haram. You have already done the act. By giving in charity, you are lowering the degree, but yet the haram act is done. If you ask me the question, I did not know till today riba is haram, and I already have interest, what to do? That's a separate question. But if someone says, I'll keep the money in the bank, and I'll give the interest to the poor people, I would ask counter question. And I've asked this question to many. I know there are some scholars who say that no problem, keep it in the bank, take the money and give it in charity, it's permitted. I disagree with these scholars totally. I would like to ask them that if I ask you that can I deal in drugs, in cocaine, brown sugar, or can I open an alcohol factory and I invest $1 million and full 100% profit, I get more than $1 million a year. I give that full 7.5 crore Indian rupees in charity. Is it permissible? 100% will say no. I said, why? It's haram. If that is haram, having alcohol or dealing in alcohol or in drugs, it is the 19th major sin in the book of Imam Ad-Dhabi Khabair, major sin. And riba is 12th major sin. So when you can give me permission for 12th, the higher sin, why aren't you giving me permission for the lower sin? And imagine, when you deal in alcohol, though it's a major sin, Allah and His Rasul doesn't wage a war against you. But when you are dealing in riba, whether giving or taking, Allah and His Rasul is waging a war against you. When you are giving me permission to take the profit of interest money and give in charity and no problem, you should also give me permission to have an alcohol company. 100% I'll give in charity. Let me deal in drugs, cocaine, brown sugar. No scholar will give you permission to deal in cocaine and say 100% you can give in charity. Because it's haram. Fi nafsi. Same thing in riba. When you're dealing in riba, it is spoiling the society. I've given a full talk on interest-free economy promulgated by the glorious Quran. It makes a poor man more poor. And Allah and His Rasul wage a war. So according to me, taking interest and giving in charity is also haram. There may be a situation that today you have come to know it is haram. And you already have interest money, what to do? That I can answer. But if you say, I'll keep on continuing keeping in the bank and take the interest and give in charity, that is totally haram. Allah and His Rasul will wage a war against you. It is totally prohibited. If you did not know till now, and today you have come to know, then what can you do with the money? That can be answered. And many scholars are giving an option. For example, Sheikh bin Baz has said that this money you can give in paying debts of the other people. But naturally, all the scholars say that the interest money you cannot utilize for yourself. Though you cannot take interest, but if it's the last resort, it has come due to unwillingness. For example, there is pension. In the pension, without your permission, they keep it in some interest-based investment. It's coming without your willingness. That's a different question. Or you have someone in your job or your company, it comes indirectly in which you have no control, but you cannot yourself open a saving account or a fixed deposit and then give the money charity. No, that's not permitted. If you did and you say, I will never do it again, then I can tell you what can you do with the money. Number one, you can give it to the debtors, those who are in debt. Number two, you can use it for building toilets or bathrooms. Number three, you can give it in charity to the poor people, but you can't give it in charity to your dependents. You can't give it to your son or your daughter, they are your dependents. You can't give to your mother and father, they are dependents. In short, you cannot give it to those people who you will inherit from. in short. And neither can you give it to those people which is your duty to take care of them. You cannot give it to someone who you're supposed to take care of. You can give it to a third party who is not under your care. But as far as debt is concerned, according to Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, you can even give to those people who are under your care, whether it be your son, whether it be your father, because debt is not your liability. Your liability to take care of their day-to-day living. So if your father or if your son or if your daughter is in debt, you can use your zakat money for them also. Normal zakat you can't use for a dependent, but for debt you can. Similarly, this money what you have, which unwillingly came to you, you can use this interest money for paying the debt even of your dependent or anyone else. You can use it for poor people who are not your dependents. You can use it for charity or for building toilets, but see to it that you do not continue indulging in the riba. Because Allah is very clear cut that if you want to repent, there are minimum 5 things that you should do. Number 1, agree it is wrong. So now you have agreed that riba is wrong. Okay. Number 2, stop it immediately. That means you have to change your account. You can't say continue. You have to stop that account, put in a current account. If you think it is a requirement to have a bank account, okay, have a current account. I lived in India, we live in non-Muslim countries, and you can have a current account. Current account doesn't involve riba at all. See to it that you open an account in which there is no riba. Some accounts have riba. Open a current account which is absolutely free of riba. Because when you open a savings account, you are signing, you are giving them permission to use your money and give you riba. If you open a fixed deposit, then you are giving them permission to use your money and they're giving you riba out of. That's totally haram. So if you have an account which is fixed deposit, or if you have a savings account, convert it to a riba-free current account. Then what money you have, you can give it in the ways that I've told you. Regarding if you have money in the bank and you have outside money, yes, you can swap it, no problem, but see to it, but you cannot continue with that account, even that's wrong. What you have to do, you have to come out of that account and open a current account. If you feel that keeping money in your house is difficult, it is not safe, you can keep in the bank, or you may have to involve in making transaction by check, which may be a legal requirement. Open a current account which is absolutely free from riba. Best is to open an Islamic bank and current account. Next best is if there is no Islamic bank in your country or in the area where you are living. Second best is you can open a conventional bank, but see to it, it is a current account free from riba. What riba you had because of your ignorance, that you can give in charity to the poor people, it is permissible. Next question from Naushad Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Is using credit card halal? If you are talking about the conventional credit card, where the bank gives you permission that you can utilize X amount of money depending upon a credit card, whether it is bronze level, silver level, gold level, depending upon the amount. Some give you few $1,000s, some give $10,000, some give $40,000, depending upon the level. And this money that you utilize, you have to give within 1 or 2 months. And if you give that, then there is no interest. If you give above that, then there is an exorbitant interest, which goes to up to maybe 3% a month, that is 36%. Anywhere from 2 to 3% a month, that is 24 to 36% a year, which is exorbitant. And I know there are some scholars who say that if you are using a credit card, as long as you see to it, you pay within the stipulated time, within the 1 month or 2 month frame, and no interest, that's permitted. I disagree with it. It is totally haram. The moment you take a credit card from a conventional bank, you are signing a document saying that if you do not pay it in time, you will give riba. Signing a document that you will pay riba is also haram. Allah and His Rasul will wage a war against you. So even using a credit card with the intention that you will not take longer than the time permitted, I know majority of the Muslims living in Western countries, in America, in European countries, in UK, have a credit card from a conventional bank. Majority, unfortunately. I know there are scholars of the Western countries that give permission. It is 100% totally haram. All the major scholars, whether it be Sheikh Uthaymeen, whether it be Sheikh bin Baz, majority have said even having a credit card of conventional bank is haram because you are signing. And who can give guarantee that you will always pay on time? You are a human being. You can make a mistake. If once also you forget to pay on time, it is haram. Allah and the Rasul wage of war against you. Even if you pay on time regularly, only signing a document is haram. So using a credit card of a conventional bank, it's totally haram. I am aware there are some scholars that have given permission. I disagree with them. What you can do is you can have a credit card from Islamic bank. If it's Islamic bank, you can have a credit card. The other what you can do is have a debit card. Debit card means the money is already in your account, that you're not signing a document saying that you will pay interest. So debit card in a conventional bank is permitted. Credit card in a conventional bank is haram. However, credit card in the Islamic bank is permitted because it works on the Islamic principles, on the Sharia basis. There is no riba involved in this. So the best option is have a credit card in Islamic bank. The second option is have a debit card in a conventional bank which does not attract any interest. But credit card in a conventional bank is haram. It's a major sin. It is equivalent to doing zina with your mother. That's what a Prophet said. It is clearly mentioned in Mustadrak al-Hakim, hadith number 2259, that there are 73 levels of riba. The lowest level is doing zina with your mother. And it's clearly mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah chapter 2, verse number 270 and 279, that if you give up not the demands of riba, take notice of a war from Allah and His Rasul. So I request all the Muslims in any part of the world, if you have a credit card from any of the conventional bank, please, today itself, if not today, tomorrow, please discontinue it, open an Islamic bank. If you don't have an Islamic bank, convert it into a debit card. Debit card is permissible where there is no riba involved. Hope that answers the question. You have on the Facebook, Aminuddin Adam, Shafayat Mamoon, Talatu Sani, Anisur Rahman, I love you sir, I love you too. Sam Shahid, heart, heart, heart to you too. Idris Saidu, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. Sirajun Munir Rahman, please put some dua for me. May Allah bless you and give you the good in this world and the akhirah. Aminur Mahfood, hello Sheikh, how are you? I'm fine, Jazakallah. Faisal Ahmad, Adil Khan, Aisha Fatima, Saida Tahmeen Moli, Zahid Mustafa, Sheikh Muhammad Ali, Jazakallah, Wayakum, Jamil Smart, MashaAllah, Umar Amin, Khan Tariq, Azman Toha, Salman Khan. We have many people even on the YouTube. Yusuf Samsur, Asad Munir, love you sir, I love you too. Rafai Farhat, Afreen Moka, Fahd Islam, Dr. Farooq Chawakad, Tahsir Hussain, Yusuf Samsur, Sheikh Asif Ali. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There's a question from Sayyid Hassan on the YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Zakir Naik. How are you? I am Sayyid Hassan from Hyderabad, India, civil engineer by profession. My question is one sheep ram is enough for one household for sacrifice? The question is that is one ram or one sheep or one goat sufficient for sacrifice for one family? Is permitted. If you have the capacity and you want to sacrifice, very well, even sacrificing one goat or one sheep or one ram, and the Prophet did that, for the full family sufficient. If you have the capacity and if you are wealthy and if you want to give one goat or one sheep per person, even that is permissible. Or you can take a cow and that can take care of 7 people in the household. But the basic question is, yes, one goat or one sheep on Eid al-Adha, the 10th of Zilhijjah, or the 3 days following that, Ayyam al-Tashriq. Any of these 4 days, preferable but natural, is the first day on Eid. You can sacrifice one goat is sufficient for the complete family. The next question, Khamis Isa Ali from Tanzania, East Africa. I am a great fan of you and I'm learning a lot from you. May Allah bless you and your family and reward you Jannah inshallah. Ameen, Ameen. My question is, I took my bachelor's degree last year in 2019 from the government university through government students loan because of my economic conditions, and then I came to realize that I will have to pay it back with interest, riba, after being employed. So what should I do to make up for this major sin? Please help. Brother Khamis has asked a question that unknowingly he took a loan for his education degree, his bachelor's degree, and then later on he realized that this loan has to be repaid back along with interest. What should he do now? If you have taken a loan knowingly, which you did not, knowingly, and now you realize it's a major sin, the best is to repent. And as I mentioned earlier, that if you have to repent, first thing you have to agree that what you have done is wrong. Agree riba is wrong. Number 2, stop it. Number 3, repent and ask forgiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 4, don't do it again. And number 5, undo it if you can. So now that you have taken a loan unknowingly, inshallah, all the more reason Allah will forgive you. Even if you take knowingly, you want to ask for forgiveness, you can, and Allah will inshallah forgive you. You agree it is wrong. If you have taken knowingly also, stop it. Don't do it in future. Ask for forgiveness, undo if you can. Now that you have done it unknowingly, yet alhamdulillah, you have to stop it. You have to agree it is wrong, not to do it in future, ask for forgiveness and undo if you can. Now that you have taken a loan, how can you undo it? Of course, you can stop it if you can. Agree it is wrong, which you have done also. See to you don't do it again, and inshallah you won't do it again. How can you undo it? Now that you have taken a loan and you have to repay it, the best is, what you have to do, take that same amount of loan from an Islamic bank and give it to the conventional loan that you have taken. Suppose you have taken a loan of X amount and you have to give X plus Y back. So take X plus Y from the Islamic bank on the Islamic principles based on the Sharia and give it and immediately stop that loan. Over, finish. What you have to pay, principal amount and interest, take from the Islamic bank, give it, and then repay slowly after you get a job to the Islamic bank. Number 1. If there is no Islamic bank in your vicinity, in your country, in your city, the next option is that you can take from zakat money, from your relatives. And as I said, that one of the criteria for zakat, there are 8 categories where zakat can be given. One category, according to Surah Tawbah, chapter number 9, verse number 60, is gharimun, debtor. If you're a debtor, if you have taken a loan, you can take zakat money from your relatives, from your friends, no problem. You can even take zakat from a person who you are dependent of. Zakat in the category of fuqara or needy cannot be given, but in the category of gharimun, yes, because it is not the duty of the person who you are dependent on to take care of your loan. So you can take even from your father or from your mother or from your son or from your daughter. It is permitted according to Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah. You can take. So even from your dependent and close relatives, you can take zakat and give it to the conventional loan that you have taken. The third option is last. If you don't have Islamic bank, you don't have relatives, go to your friends. If your friends have no zakat to give, the last resort is that you ask for forgiveness. The moment you earn money, if there is a time period that you keep on paying 1,000 or maybe a small percentage, you keep on paying much more than what you are required and finish the loan as soon as possible so that you can stay away from it and you can save yourself from Allah and His Rasul. So these are the various options available. Ask for forgiveness, inshallah Allah will forgive you. The next question is from Hassan Yusuf from Kannadi, Mangalore. The brother asked 2 questions. Is it allowed to make health insurance for the people who are permanently sick, especially in countries like India where poor Muslims and sometimes even middle class Muslims cannot afford to pay the hospital bills? The second part is, can a Muslim person use his bank interest amount to make health insurance for the very needy Muslims in India? Brother Hassan has asked basically 2 questions. Number 1 is that can you make medical insurance for the poor people or the middle class people who cannot pay the hospital bills, and can you use the interest money for this? As far as medical insurance is concerned, any insurance, whether it be medical insurance, whether it be health insurance, whether it be the insurance of the car, insurance per se is permitted. But since most of the insurance, whether it be life insurance or health insurance or car insurance, most of the insurance in the world today are related or involved with riba, interest, that insurance become haram. So any insurance, whether life insurance or medical insurance or car insurance or insurance of any property, if it is linked with riba, that you have to give a premium and they collect premium from hundreds and thousands of people, they put that money in an interest-based investment or a bank and they get the interest money and then they collect the interest money and whoever goes in loss, they pay it. If it is involving interest or riba, that type of insurance is haram. The other alternative that you have is the Islamic insurance called as takaful. So if you are doing takaful, whether for life insurance or for medical insurance or for insurance of your property, this is permitted. So takaful, in takaful what they do is they take your money and they invest in a Sharia compliant business or a Sharia compliant instrument, which is riba free. It's not involving interest. Whatever extra money they get, they see to it that they spend it on the policies of the insurance, or whoever has an accident, or whoever dies, or whoever goes to the hospital. So takaful is permitted, Islamic medical insurance is permitted, Islamic life insurance is permitted, Islamic insurance of the car is permitted, of the property is permitted, but riba-based insurance, medical insurance, life insurance is haram. Come to the second question, that can I use my interest money for buying insurance for the poor people? As I said earlier, if you are using interest money and keeping in the bank continuously and then giving that money in charity or buying medical insurance, it is haram. Because to buy medical insurance from that interest money, you have to take interest first. As I mentioned earlier, giving interest and taking interest, both is haram. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Baqarah chapter 2, verse number 278 and 279, that if you give up not your demands of riba, of interest, take notice of Allah from Allah and His Rasul. So if you're going to keep in the bank and every year take interest and give in charity or buying insurance for the poor people, it's haram. You're doing a bigger major sin than them. But if you came to know today that interest is haram, and now if you have that money, interest money, then very well, you can give in charity, you can even buy insurance for the poor people, but continuously keeping the money in the riba-based bank is haram. If you stop that account and now you have that money, what to do with it? Yes, you can utilize it for the poor people, for building toilets, for giving the debts, or even for buying medical insurance for them. Let me give you one additional information regarding medical insurance. Now, when you have medical insurance, most of the medical insurance insure you for your hospital bills, not for your normal day-to-day checkup with the doctor. So only if you are admitted in a hospital will the insurance company pay the bills. But if you have a normal, if you are sick, and if you go to a normal doctor in outdoor patient department, they will not take care of your medical bills. They'll only take care of your medical bills if you are admitted. But natural, they will not take care if you are admitted for pregnancy. It doesn't come in the policy normally. If you are admitted for certain things which are common, or cataract, they will not come into the policy. It only takes place, mainly in accident or other diseases which are not common. So you have to be very careful when you read the contract of the medical insurance. So if you are taking care only of hospital bills, the chances you will be hospitalized is a very small percentage. That's the reason you pay a small percentage of the policy. If the policy says that they will take care of 100,000 rupees of hospital bill, you have to pay a small percentage. But will never take care of your day-to-day visit to the doctors. I had consulted one of the takaful companies in Malaysia, and Malaysia is very advanced in Islamic banking. Alhamdulillah, one of the few countries which is advanced in Islamic banking is Malaysia. There are Islamic full-fledged banks also, or most of the conventional banks also have an Islamic window. I prefer a full-fledged Islamic bank than a conventional bank with an Islamic window. I consulted one takaful company here in Malaysia, and as I said that they give insurance, but only if you're admitted. Now, how many of the people are admitted to hospital? When I was trying to see for the insurance option for the staff, and I asked them that what for they cover 100% medical bill, even if they go for normal checkup. Then the policy was so expensive, it was more than 50%. About 60% of the expenses that you're claiming you'll have to pay every year. That is too much. That means if you're asking for a policy of about 10,000 ringgit, that is 1.7 lakh rupees, then they're asking for 60%, 6,000 ringgit a year. For 1.7 lakh, you have to pay more than 1 lakh rupees. What is the use of the policy? So be very careful that for this medical insurance, it's only certain types of diseases, and when you admit to the hospital, certain types of diseases not covered. You have to be careful, read very carefully. It may be helpful, may not be helpful. It's mainly helpful that if the government has a policy that an employee should be insured, then it's helpful. But otherwise, many a time it doesn't take care of your normal medical expenses. Only in critical condition we admit to the hospital, it takes care of that. Hope that answers the question. The next question posed by Abdul Karim from Lahore, Pakistan. If all the Muslims believe in the same Quran and the same Hadith, then why are there 4 madhabs and why do they differ? This is a very important question and a very sensitive question. The brother posed the question that if the Muslims believe in the same Quran and believe in the same Hadith, then why are there 4 madhabs and why do they differ? I do agree that as far as the Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat is concerned, major chunk of the Muslims, all of us believe in the same Quran, we believe in the same Hadith, we believe after the Quran is the Bukhari, the most important, then Sahih Muslim is there, then you follow the Kutub al-Sitta, that Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, then Ibn Majah, Sunan Nasai. These 4 are the main collection of the Kutub al-Sitta, and there is unanimous agreement between this, the Quran, and the Kutub al-Sitta. Number 1 after the Quran is Bukhari, then Muslim, and then the other 4 books of Hadith. Regarding a question that why are there 4 madhabs and why do they differ? As far as the 4 popular madhab that we have today, and we follow the 4 Aimmas, that is Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. May Allah have mercy on them all. I love all these 4 Aimmas, I respect them all, and I really pray for all of them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them mercy, and may Allah put all of them in Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la. Let me correct you first that these 4 madahib, they came to explain to the Muslim Ummah Islam in detail. Let me tell you that they don't differ always. They differ rarely. More than 90 to 95%, all the 4 madhab are the same. They may differ in some issues, maybe minor issues. As far as the major issues are concerned, about Salah, we have to pray 5 times, regarding Zakat, regarding Hajj, all these 4 madhab, they are same. In the minute aspects of Salah or if Hajj, they may differ here and there, but they are minute differences. It's not a major difference at all. It is not worth fighting over it. So let me tell you that 90 to 95% of all these 4 madhab are the same exactly. They may differ in small issues and very few. All these 4 Aimmas, they said that if you find any of my fatwa, any of my verdict, which goes against Allah and His Rasul, which goes against Quran and Sahih Hadith, then you throw my fatwa on the wall. So all these 4 Aimmas, they were great scholars, and they came to explain the deen to us. Regarding why do they differ if we follow the same Quran and the same Hadith, is a very important question, and this question troubled me for many years. Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me that I have met many scholars from all these 4 madhab, and I interacted with many of them, many hours, and I spent time with them, and I posed the same question, why do they differ? And the replies they gave was there, some less satisfying, some more satisfying, but there's no convincing replies for the masses. And Alhamdulillah, summa Alhamdulillah, after meeting these scholars from all these 4 madhab, my vision of Islam and the differences, Alhamdulillah, expanded a lot. Allah clearly mentioned in the Quran in Surah Imran chapter 3 verse number 103, وَاتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold to the rope of Allah strongly and be not divided. We Muslims are supposed to hold to the rope of Allah, that the glorious Quran and the Sahih Hadith. And all, it's ijma. all the Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat, the Muslims, we believe in the Quran and the Sahih Hadith, then why are the differences? To explain to a common man, I will give you some examples, and I always believe in explaining people by giving examples which they understand. I would like to ask a simple question to the people who know English. What is the spelling of the word color? Can you guess? Give the reply. You can give the reply on the WhatsApp, you can give the reply on the Facebook, you can give the reply on the YouTube. What is the spelling of color? I'm not getting any reply. What is the spelling of color? What is the spelling of color? Some may say the spelling of color is C-O-L-O-U-R. Some may say the spelling of color is C-O-L-O-R. Which is correct? A person who is well versed with English will tell you that the first spelling is the spelling of British English. C-O-L-O-U-R is the British spelling for the word color. C-O-L-O-R is the American spelling for the word color. I am asking you the question, which is correct? C-O-L-O-U-R or C-O-L-O-R? And again, you'll have difference of opinion. Some will say C-O-L-O-U-R is correct if he's a British. Some will say C-O-L-O-R if he's an American. Some will say both are correct. But even if they differ, you never find them fighting over this issue. They may differ. A Britisher will say C-O-L-O-U-R is correct. I'm an Indian. We were ruled by the Britishers, and quite a large portion of the world was ruled by the Britishers. So all those who were ruled by the Britishers and we were British colonies, we will follow British English and we'll say the spelling of color is C-O-L-O-U-R. The American will say C-O-L-O-R. We agree to both. A Britisher would prefer C-O-L-O-U-R, but if someone says C-O-L-O-R, fine. We agree to differ. Same with the American, he will say C-O-L-O-R, but he agrees. He believes that is better, but he agrees with C-O-L-O-U-R also. Similarly, this is just an example I've given you. How do you pronounce O-F-T-E-N? How do you pronounce O-F-T-E-N? Some will say often, some will say often. Previously it was often, then it became often. Now new people are saying no, often is correct. T is not silent, it should be pronounced. Some say T is silent, and then there's a big debate for that. But we realize that both are correct in their own ways. Similarly, these schools of thought, four that we have, actually there were many tens and hundreds of imams and scholars. These four, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah have mercy on them all. May Allah grant them Jannat al-Firdaus to all. They were more popular, or maybe their students made them popular. There were many other imams, many other sheikhs, many other scholars. But these four, their teachings became more popular. Maybe the students made it more popular. And that's how we have these four major madhahibs. But all these four great scholars and four aimmas, they never came to bring a division in the Muslim Ummah. They explained their point of view. Because if it is very clear cut in the Quran, there is no problem at all. If it's clear cut in the Hadith, the difference comes when there is a difference of opinion. Now, why is there a difference of opinion? I will discuss that. Previously, I used to think, okay, fine, maybe the difference is in the Hadith. Some people say Sahih Hadith, some people Zaif Hadith. That is the difference. That is not the real answer. That may be in some cases. After meeting so many fuqahas and scholars of the different madhahib, I've come with this example of the spelling or the example of pronunciation. So similarly, these madhahib differ. What is the major reason? According to my study, there is usul fiqh, that in areas where it is not very clear cut, Quran says alcohol is haram, there is no fiqh in it. Allah says haram, it's haram. So no one will differ allowed or not allowed. So that's common. Where there is difference in understanding the Quran or the Hadith, etc., then the fiqh starts. So as far as usul fiqh is concerned, there are different criteria for giving your ruling on fiqh. Some may have 5 criteria, some may have 6, some may have 7, some may have 9, some may have even 10. I will not discuss in detail, time does not permit and difficult for common man to understand. I'll just give you a few examples for better understanding. Number one difference is difference in the criteria. As far as the first 2 criteria are concerned, it is the same. Number one criteria in all madahib, all schools of thought, it is Quran. Number one, there is no difference in it. Number 2 is the mutawatir hadith. All the schools of thought believe that number 2 criteria for fiqh is the mutawatir hadith. What is the mutawatir hadith? There are various different classifications of hadith. One of the classifications is depending upon the narrators, the chain of narrators. Mutawatir hadith means a hadith in which there are various chains of narrators in every generation. That means that hadith has been narrated by many sahabas who heard the Prophet say that. Then the next generation tabain, there are many tabains who repeated that hadith. Then the tabain, many tabain repeated that hadith. So in every generation there are many narrators. So in one of the classification of hadith, it is based on narrators. It is maybe a gharib hadith, a single chain of hadith. Then this ahad hadith, one narrator is there at any one stage, only one narrator. For example, the very famous hadith, the first hadith of Sahih Bukhari, Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, that the Prophet said, Innamal amal binniyah. Your actions are based on your intention. All you find this hadith in Bukhari, in Muslim, in various books of hadith, but there is only one Sahaba who narrated it. So if any of the stages, where the stage of Sahaba or the Tabain or Tabi Tabain, any of the stages of narration, if any of the stages have only one narrator comment in all the hadith, it becomes ahad hadith. So there are various chain of narrators, but all the narrators end to Umar radiallahu anh, and then Umar radiallahu anh narrated what the Prophet said. So it becomes the ahad hadith. It may be a mashhur hadith, there may be 2 or 3 narrators, and it keeps on various categories. The highest category is mutawatir. That means several narrators at every stage. That means every stage have many narrators. Number is not fixed, there has to be more than 4 or 5. Every stage. Some are 20, some are 30 at every stage. So number 1 is the Quran. Number 2 is the mutawatir hadith. All the schools of thought agree that the number 2 highest category of evidence after the Quran is the mutawatir hadith. Third category onwards, the third criteria of evidence differs in different schools of thought. Some have 5 criteria, some have 6, some have 7, some have 10 criteria. In some schools of thought, the third criteria, highest criteria of evidence is even ahad hadith. As long as it's a sahih hadith, even ahad, no problem. It can be a mashhur hadith, it is the third highest. In some school of thought, no. The third after the mutawatir hadith is the urf, is the custom. That if the people of Medina did this act, it is the custom, it is the third highest, higher than even a sahih hadith, which is the ahad hadith. Some will say no, it is qiyas, analogy. So different schools of thought have different criteria in order. First 2 is the same, the third may be a sahih ahad hadith, some may say no, urf, the custom, some may say qiyas, analogy. Other group, the fourth becomes ahad hadith, the fourth becomes custom in some schools of thought. So from the third onward, it differs. So based on this difference, some may prefer custom as a higher. So if it is not there in the Quran, if it is not there mutawatir hadith, it is an ahad hadith. So this school of thought is ahad hadith. The other says it is in ahad hadith, but it is not there in the urf. So I will not believe, I will give urf more importance, custom more importance. So the differences arise in what you give more importance to. Do you give importance more to urf, the custom? Do you give more importance to qiyas, analogy? Or do you give more importance to hadith? From third level, it keeps on differing in different schools of thought. So because of that, what you give more importance to differs. That's how the ruling differs. But all these rulings are minor. What we have to understand, that we have to respect the ruling of all the 4 schools of thought. Because all the 4 schools of thought are based on Quran, they are based on hadith, but the level of importance may differ. Some schools of thought say, they may have a criteria, If you're talking about Salah, it should be a mutawatir hadith. Because Salah, the Prophet prayed in public. Almost all the Sahabas saw him. So if you give about Salah a hadith, though it is Sahih, I will not follow. If it is Salah, it has to be evidence for mutawatir hadith, otherwise I will not follow. That is their thinking. You may agree, you may not agree. You may say no, it's a hadith, one Sahaba reported it, it is sufficient for me. It's a Sahih hadith, fulfills the criteria of Sahih, it is sufficient for me. Other school of thought say no, if it's other matter, I will believe in a hadith. But Salah, such an important thing, Prophet prayed every day, 5 times a day, it should be a mutawatir. Difference of opinion. So how do you differ? So the third and the fourth and the fifth level of criteria, after the first two differ, this is the reason why the major difference is there in the 4 schools of thought. It may be difficult for people to understand. Number 2, the difference may also be that you may differ that whether it's a Sahih hadith or not. Some may say it's a Hasan hadith. Hasan hadith is the lowest level of Sahih hadith. Some will say no, it is a Daif hadith. So Daif hadith is not a hujjah, is not an evidence for saying something is fard or something is haram. It may have other values. So the muhaddithin may differ, and when they differ in minute. Some may say Hasan, some may say Zaif. Hasan is the lowest category of Sahih. Classifying hadith on the basis of whether it is Sahih, Zaif or Mawzu is another classification. Sahih hadith itself, there are 10 types of Sahih hadith. Then comes Zaif, then comes Mawdu. Time will not permit to go into details. So the second type of difference of opinion in fiqh, besides the criteria, is whether the hadith is Sahih or Zaif. Few. Third, may be difference in understanding the hadith. For example, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that after ruku, the Prophet stood and he kept his hands where they were. So some schools of thought, I'm not mentioning the names purposely, some schools of thought say the Prophet kept his hand on his chest. Before he went to ruku, the hand was on the chest. So after ruku, when they get up, they keep the hand on the chest. The other Aimma say no. Before starting the salah, where were the hands? The hands were at the side. So when they get up from ruku, they keep the hands on the sides. So here you understand that the difference is because understanding the hadith. All of them agree that the hadith is sahih, but one fuqaha agrees this hadith refers to where were the hands before going to ruku. The other fuqahas agree that it was before starting salah. So difference in interpreting the hadith. So one is because of criteria, which is the major difference. Number 2 is that difference in whether it's a sahih or zaif. Number 3, in understanding the hadith. Similarly, there can be a difference in understanding the Quranic verse also. For example, the verse of the Quran says that when a woman touches, your wudu breaks. So one fuqaha agrees that physical touch breaks the wudu. The Arabic word is masa, coming from the word lamasa. Lamasa has got 2 meanings in Arabic. One means a sexual touch, one means a physical touch. So one fuqaha takes it as a physical touch and says physical touch breaks the wudu. The other fuqaha says no, it means sexual touch, so physical touch does not break a wudu. So the differences are there in understanding the meaning of the verse of the Quran. So because of these differences, whether it be difference in criteria, whether it be difference in whether it's Sahih or Zaif hadith, whether it's a difference in understanding the hadith, whether the difference in understanding the verse of the Quran, because of this, the differences are there, and these differences are minor. We should not fight over it. What we find today, that because of these issues, there are some people who just study for a few months or few years, and they start saying that, okay, my fiqh is the best and is the only right one, which is wrong. All these were great fuqahas. We love them all, we respect them all. Even they among themselves, when they differed, they respected. They agreed with the other view. What they said, my view I think is afzal. It is better. That doesn't mean you are wrong. But today, most of them, you are wrong, I'm right. What I say, even I am right. To say I am only right is a big problem. Or you can say, I think this is afzal, this is better. That you can say. But today what we have, no, I am only right, you are wrong. Because of that, there is tension and there is fighting. We Muslims should be united. These are petty issues. The differences are going to be there. There were differences in the Sahabas. We should not fight over it, and we should agree that we agree to disagree. We should not fight over it. And all these issues are not on the major issues, they are minor issues. So I request the Muslim Ummah that we should be united, and we should respect these Aimmas, and we should respect the scholars, and see to it that we follow the Quran and Sahih Hadith as close as possible. Hope that answers the question. The next question, Brother Mohsin Bashir from Kashmir, India. What should we follow when there is difference of opinion among the scholars on a particular issue? This question is related to the earlier question, that what should we do and who should we follow if there is difference of opinion among the scholars. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 59, Atullah wa atiu Rasul. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. And those who have been endowed with knowledge, those who have been giving the commands. That means talking about the scholars. Obey Allah and obey the messengers, and obey those who are knowledgeable, those who are the scholars. Ulil Amr. But the verse doesn't end there. The verse continues. But if they differ, go back to Allah and His Rasul. That means you have to follow Quran and follow Sahih Hadith and the scholars. But if the scholars differ, go back to Allah and His Rasul. All the scholars say you should pray 5 times. There is no need of going anywhere. Pray 5 times. All the scholars say they should fast during the month of Ramadan. No problem. All the scholars say you should give 2.5% zakat in most of the cases. Okay, follow that. When there is difference of opinion, and if scholars differ, the Quran says, go back to Allah and His Rasul. Now, when the scholars differ, what should a person do? For this, I would like to give an example. Depending upon which level do you belong to, your decision will be based on that. I remember when I was in school, when I was in the primary school, for us, for a child in the primary school, teacher is always right. Irrespective whether the teacher is knowledgeable or not, for the child going in primary school, for him or her, the teacher is the most knowledgeable in the world. And I remember in the primary school, when my science teacher told something, and I told my father, my father, he was a medical doctor, he was a psychiatrist, he had done his post-graduation in medicine. And when there was a medical issue and I told my father said that, this is wrong. I was adamant, no, my teacher cannot be wrong. That time I was a kid, 7, 8 years old, not knowing that my father is a medical doctor. But for me, the teacher is always right. Similarly, when a child is in primary school, for him the teacher is always right. So for a person who has no knowledge of deen, or maybe is a beginner in deen, who is a revert, or maybe who has not studied at all, he may be an elderly person, but did not study deen at all. So I would consider him to be in the level of school level. So for him, he should catch one scholar, consider him to be teacher, and follow that is the safest. Whichever scholar he believes. But that is for a person who has limited or no knowledge of deen. Normally, the fuqahas, they divide the Muslim into 2 levels. One is the mujtahid, a scholar, and one is the non-mujtahid. I divide normally into 4 levels. There are different levels of division. I would count a person who has bare minimal knowledge of deen, bare minimal, or maybe a revert, or maybe he's elderly but no one taught him really about the deen. So I would call him a person who's in school, bare minimal, the lowest level in the Muslim. The highest level I would call as a scholar or a mujtahid. And today, in today's world, there are very few mujtahid, very few scholars, maybe a few hundred, very few. All the dais that you see giving talks and all, very few are really scholars, very few. The highest level is scholar, the lowest level is just a beginner. The second level from top, I would say, is a student of knowledge. So most of the du'ats are students of knowledge. For example, a person who has studied deen and spent years studying the usul of fiqh or the hadith or tafsir, you can call him a student of knowledge. Student of knowledge may differ. He may be a graduate from Islamic University. He may be a postgraduate, done his master's. He may be a PhD. Just by getting a PhD degree, you don't become a scholar. can become, but chances are less. Scholar is a different category altogether. Allah has given him the sense of analysis, of understanding. He knows all the usuls and has the element of hujjah, etc. That's a different level. So scholars are very few in the world, maybe a few hundred now in the full world. So these are students of knowledge. In the students of knowledge, there are various categories: low level, medium, high, very high. PhD may be a very high level, but yet a student of knowledge. And a person may not have gone to university, but he might have spent months and years discussing with the top scholars and fuqahas. He may be more knowledgeable than a PhD. And in my organization, in Islamic Research Foundation, when I was in Bombay, and the school itself, we had more than 500 employees, out of which about maybe 25 of them were graduates, postgraduates, and PhDs from foreign universities. Mostly from Islamic University of Medina, some from Imam Muhammad bin Saud University, some from another university, maybe 25 of them, bachelors, postgraduates, and PhDs. Then we had another 30, 40 people who have passed from the Islamic universities in India. Some have done the IFTA, some have done the Alim course, some are Mufti, another 30. So totally we have about, 50, 60 people. All of them I call a student of knowledge. There were some who were in the research department who did not pass from any of the Islamic universities, but they spent years in doing research. For me, they were more valuable than the masters and the PhDs amongst my staff. They were very knowledgeable, they could argue, they could quote the hadith. They didn't go to any Islamic university, but the level of understanding of deen was much higher. So the salary was higher even than the PhDs who have done their doctorate from the Islamic University of Al-Azhar, etc. Even from Medina. And none of my staff I would call, not even I'm not a scholar at all, I'm just a student of knowledge. So student of knowledge differs at different levels. That is the second category. The third category, above the basic beginner, is those who have knowledge of the deen but may not have studied to a great extent. But because today it's easy to acquire knowledge either by internet or by social media, they have interacted, but not to the level of a student of knowledge. So I would call them in 4 levels. One is a scholar, a mujtahid, very few in the world, few hundred. Then you have the student of knowledge. The student of knowledge have various categories: lower level, medium level, high level. Then you have the people who have knowledge of the deen, but may not be called student of knowledge, but they know quite fair. And one is a lower level, just the beginner. If you're a beginner, you're like in the school, catch one scholar, follow him, that's the best. You don't have that. If you're a student of knowledge, and if the scholars differ, they have to analyze, go back to Allah and Rasul, go back to the evidence given by these scholars. So if 2 scholars differ, the student of knowledge will actually check that what is the evidence given by scholar A and what is the evidence given by scholar B. He himself may not be a scholar, but he has the basic knowledge of at least analyzing the evidence. And no da'i, unless he is a scholar, should give a fatwa. I never give a fatwa of my own. What a da'i can do, he can read the fatwas of the scholars, and then he can agree with one scholar more than the other scholar, saying, I agree with this scholar more because the evidence he's giving is much more reliable than the other. I feel this evidence. Now, depending upon what level of student of knowledge are you, can you agree? But naturally, for a very low level of student of knowledge, then it may not be right for you to judge which of the scholars is correct. But you are on a high level, you can. Those who are on the third level, who have knowledge of the deen, what they should do, they should ask a student of knowledge that these 2 scholars are differing. Who do you think is more appropriate? And based on the evidence they give. So basically, you have to go back to Allah and His Rasul, see the evidence in the Quran and the Hadith. There may be chances that some scholars, they have made mistake out of ignorance. They were uninformed. Some said because of difference of opinion, various things. So if you analyze and then make a decision, so if you are a student of knowledge, you can analyze the evidence given by the scholar, then decide which scholar is correct. If you are the third category, you can ask a student of knowledge or ask a scholar, a third scholar, which of the 2 evidence is more appropriate, and hear their reasoning, and based on that you can decide. If you are the fourth level, just hardly knowing the level of deen, you catch one scholar, follow him blindly, there's no other option. But naturally, he should not be a fake scholar. He should be a scholar by its true sense. And if you do that, you have no other option, because your knowledge is very low in the deen. These are the options we have, but as the Quran says, go back to Allah and Rasul. We have run out of time. That was the last question that I could answer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.